Hey, everybody. Welcome to another podcast of the Functional for Life podcast. I am your host, Coach Joe, where we work on empowering men in their 20s through their 50s who may feel insecure, incapable, or inactive in their lives to help lose the weight, to become strong and stable, and to rise up and become the leaders that they were created to be. We do this through our functional form method, which is incorporating the four aspects of who we are as people and as men, which are spirit, emotions, mind, and body. A lot of times people will talk about just the body, so we like to incorporate everything here. And I have a special guest with us today. He's an awesome friend who I've known for many years, and he's also my first client, Dan. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad that you're able to join me today, and I'm super excited to get into this. So, first off, give us a little bit of a background of where you were, what kind of things that you were struggling with, just where you were as a person prior to starting this journey with Functional for Life, and just kind of your journey in health.
So I had a problem with procrastination. I always have for years wanted to get into long distance running or mountain biking on a regular basis or whatever, but I couldn't actually just start doing it on a regular basis. I always found excuses for it. So when Joe offered his services, I took them with the mostly to look for accountability and to get me to do those things on a regular basis. And so far, it has worked. I have been much more consistent in actually getting to the gym, unlike before, and started seeing results for the first time ever from the gym. And my goal is to get into an Ironman, and Joe will help me with this. Right now, I am dealing with some injuries, and this is something I've dealt with before, and it always stopped me. This time, I'm still moving forward, and I'm still going to get back into the game after my injuries, unlike before, and Joe is helping me with that as well.
Yeah, that's a fantastic thing. And I love the goal too. Like when you came at it and you're like, hey, we're gonna go into Ironman. Like I want to run an Ironman. I want to, do the run, swim, biking for that. It's like that's awesome. That's amazing. It can seem like a lofty goal. I think a lot of guys might think, oh man, there's no way I could ever do that. And so coming into it with that desire was super awesome. And I love the challenge too, because it's just a personal challenge and also just like say, hey, look what I can do. Look where we can get. And yeah, we definitely have. You brought up some really great points there too. You had mentioned that feelings of like the inability to actually be consistent in the gym. Did that lead to any other like emotional things or like just mindset places for you where you weren't being consistent in that area of your life and being like the leader and taking care of your health consistently? Did that bleed over into anything?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like I couldn't take charge and actually go to the gym and make myself do it. I have a pretty major procrastination problem, and I'm working on that. Joe has helped me with that. And that does lead me to kind of beat myself up a little bit. So I have improved in that regard where I feel better about myself. Like, yeah, I actually can go to the gym regularly. I am actually going to the gym, not just aspiring to go to the gym like before. So it's been a big help for me on that. And like I said, it's been great seeing some results for once. And I am definitely somebody who needs the ball to be rolling to keep rolling. And Joe
For
has
sure.
helped me start the ball rolling.
Yeah. The rolling is definitely important because that's kind of what motivation is, right? Motivation is when your ball is stopped and you're like, okay, and the motivation is trying to get it to move forward and kind of
Yo,
depends on how hard
amen.
it is. You're like what how much motivation is required to move you? It depends on like the size of the ball that you're dealing with, which isn't like it's not the size of your body, right? But it has to do with like the size of the mental and the emotional challenges surrounding your feelings and your past experience with doing that activity, right? So you had mentioned like you had procrastination issues always. So you kind of brought that in with you whenever you were thinking about going to the gym.
Oh yeah, it's most of my problem. That and excuses, very convenient excuses. Oh, I'm feeling a little sick today, or oh, I'm a little injured today, and then I don't go in. Joe has helped me with that.
Yeah.
We've had a few good discussions where I told him, hey, man, this happened or that happened. And he called me and he talked to me and got me to go. And also, another thing I do is I have a tendency to, I mean, you can see with the Ironman thing, right? Where I do all or nothing. And that includes going to the gym for one session. If I don't feel like I can get all of my workouts in or whatever at the complete length, I tend to not go. And Joe has helped me get into more of that mentality that you can do some. Some is better than nothing. It's
Yeah.
not all or nothing.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of like with life and with everything else. If you're like, well, if I can't eat healthy or if I can't eat, the right stuff, then I just won't eat it all, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is probably not a healthy way to look at food, right? And at eating and consumption. And yet, for some reason, I think, especially as guys, we tend to need to fix things. So if like A plus B doesn't equal C, then we just trash the entire equation. We just throw it away. We're like, you know what? If I can't do it all, if I can't do it right, I'm just not going to do it. Not everybody thinks that way, but it is definitely a pervasive mindset. Is that all or nothing? Yeah, for sure. What kind of stuff had you tried before that didn't seem to work? Because I know that you had mentioned you had like procrastination issues and things, being consistent and seeing progress. So what kind of things had you tried that just didn't work for you?
So I was running for a little while and then I actually got up to 12 miles one time that I got some severe runner's knee out of that. And that knocked me out of the game because I let it knock me out of the game. And also, I've done some times where I try to go to the gym. Yeah, I'm going to start going to the gym. And then I go once or twice and I don't actually do it. And then the other thing that's happened to me a lot is actually I get sick about the second week I start going to the gym. And that always stopped my progress instead of just going to the gym after I get that little sickness after the second week. Joe has helped me with that as well. And also the running technique problems I've had bicycling, all that stuff. Just consistency is the main problem
Yeah,
with me.
consistency. Yeah, that's a huge thing. I think for any
Yeah.
kind of progress, it's like consistency.
So it's good to have somebody here who's going, hey, Dad, you didn't go on that workout today. Mm. And it gets me to do it.
Yeah, yeah. The action is one of the biggest things. I think a lot of guys end up going and falling into that inaction portion because of whatever it is, right? Excuses, feeling sick or just like not feeling like you can actually have time maybe to do everything or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And so then you're like, oh, well, since I'm unable to do it to the level that I am expecting of myself to do, then I'm just not going to do it at all, or I'm not able to do it at all. And that can lead to some severe procrastination and just like, oh, well, I guess I can't accomplish my goals.
That is definitely one of my biggest problems. Like I said, is, just doing the all or nothing thing, right? It's like, I
Yeah.
need to start making my, like, and Joe's helped me. It's like, okay, get to the gym. Do just a couple sets of a couple exercises, and it's also that ball rolling, right? And it keeps that ball rolling when you actually let it completely stop, which,
Yeah, for sure. So talking about ball rolling, I know that a lot of times coaches and other people will put up like, oh, well, here's some content and stuff. And I like to be like, when it comes to the way that I approach everything, it's like we got to be truthful, we got to be clear, we got to have a goal in mind in order to be able to achieve that. And so with transparency and everything, it doesn't always go the way that we want it to go, right? We don't always be like, oh, okay, I'm going to sign up with a coach and it's going to be perfect. I'm going to get where I want to go, and boom, everything's done. Kind of like that 90-day transformation thing. A lot of people will put up. They're like, oh, I weighed 250 pounds, and then in 90 days I weighed 180 pounds, and and I'm shredded, and I'm a bodybuilder now, right? So it's like it doesn't work that way. It's not realistic,
yeah,
and
well,
I know that we've come across some of those challenges too.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like those pictures you see of like the path everyone wants it to be, or I don't know with the screen orientation, but bear with me. It's like, okay, you're here, yay, may accomplish. But like that picture is like this and whatever else, and then you get to there, right?
Yeah.
And but I mentioned earlier, I am dealing with a couple injuries. I have a foot problem and my shoulder problem from dirt biking, which yeah, that's not the greatest thing when you're trying to do an Ironman, but that's another subject. But with that, I can guarantee you right now, I would have been knocked out of the game and done and had a very hard time getting back into it. But with Joe here, I am still somewhat mentally into it, even though I've been quite limited. And but I've been doing some exercises. I'm still logging things. I'm still kind of keeping in the game. And I just got released to start doing workouts again with a shoulder last week and starting this upcoming week and just right back in the game. Where before I would have been, who knows when I would have gone back to it. I would have been done.
Yeah, that's a great aspect of it too, because that's kind of like that mind, like your spirit to move forward and your emotions associated with your mind just would have been like, oh no, you know,
And then
I
you get out of routine and then you start going on with your life. And then it's hard to sit there and sacrifice an hour and a half of your day again that you got used to, relaxing.
yeah, exactly. So having so that's kind of like been a mindset shift for you since before coaching and after coaching, because like thinking about, you kind of brought it up already, where you would have been prior to starting coaching with your mind if that injury with your shoulder happened, right?
Yeah.
And already, thinking about where you were before, where it'd be like, oh, well, I get sick after 2 weeks and that knocks me out. And then to have an injury, like how that would have
A
affected you.
2 month long injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would have been done. There's just, that's just how it would have been.
Yeah.
So that's helped me because I'm still here. I'm still moving forward. I'm still planning for the Ironman. I'm starting heavy weightlifting next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're diving straight back in with full fury, and we're definitely going to be getting there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to get back into it. I miss it. I definitely miss doing something about it. I've been feeling like I've been stagnant, not doing much, and with it getting back into it next week's gonna feel amazing.
For sure. Do you feel like your motivation has changed too? Like your motivation to reach your goals and the way that you both access that motivation, and then like how it shows in your behavior and in your mindset and your perspectives towards your goals has changed since beforehand, considering like these recent things?
Yes, I would say so. Just the fact that I'm still like just the fact that I feel like I'm not doing much and I want to get back to moving forward, having forward progress with this. Frankly, before and even today, but before especially, I used to kind of celebrate when something happened. I'm like, oh, guilt-free, no gym trips. And now I'm kind of like, oh, I want to get back to having some results. I'm noticing that I'm not doing this, not quite where I was before, and I
Yeah.
want to get back to it, right? So yes, I would say my motivation has been higher.
Yeah. So kind of that sounds like, I mean, that's an awesome shift too. It sounds like to me to have the mind go from like, oh, we're going to celebrate opportunities to get out of doing something, as
Yeah,
opposed to celebrating the opportunity to get back at doing something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's an enormous mindset change. What do you think's been the biggest catalyst for that?
Having results and having an end goal too with the Ironman. Both of
Yeah,
those two tying into each other. So you got the feeling good from having those results I had before and wanting to continue on those things. I was, I'm pretty sure I was going to hit a 200-pound bench press pretty soon. And I was getting to a pretty good number with my deadlifts. And the injury happened. It happened right at that
right there.
peak where, and so now I'm not going to be at those numbers anymore, and I want to get back to those numbers. And
Yeah,
then you look at the end goal I have of the Ironman, and I'm starting to have that clock ticking in my head going, you got just over here, dude. We need to get going. So you got those two things together that make me want to get back into the gym and
Yeah.
move forward again.
Yeah, 100%. So that's amazing too. Those couple of things that you mentioned is, having that experience with like where you've been, so your current progress, and then having that goal. So kind of like those two bookends, something for you to compare yourself to, which, in a way, comparing yourself to yourself in the past isn't necessarily the most healthy place, but it's not really a comparing yourself into the past that you're coming across. It's saying, oh, I recently, like I was on this course for this thing, and then I hit a roadblock, and then I hit, a place that caused me to fall off a little bit, whatever that might be. For us, it was an injury, which, a lot of guys can go through injuries, and that can be like,
Yeah,
that can be an ender for a lot of people.
it can
But
be. It would have been if I wasn't in your program.
yeah, but we're definitely, like, we're still straight on track for hitting that
Yeah.
Ironman goal, which is great. And then also cool thing too, and something I wanted to talk to you about. What kind of stuff have you noticed has been different about the way that you train and the way that you approach training, or things that you wouldn't have considered when it comes to exercise and training for like different goals or whatever it is, prior to starting with coaching and then after? So is there anything that sticks out that's like, wow, this is something I wouldn't have thought about, considered, or done?
Okay. I do have a few things I can talk about on that. Warm-ups. I am not a warm-up guy. I just want to get in and work out.
Right.
Joe's like, warm-ups, warm-ups. So that would be one of the biggest ones. But more importantly, the cool downs. I know about warm-ups, cool downs I've never thought about. So that's a good one. Another one is so when Joe was discussing to me the first few times about the Ironman, I never thought about a stages type thing. So he has I don't remember everything from the stage, but it's like you got the you got a power, that's later on, like strength, endurance, power, and then power sustained with endurance, right?
Yeah.
And he was he he mapped that out for me. I never thought about that when I thought about doing an Ironman, and I was kind of lost thinking about that. It's one of the reasons I hired Joe here, is because I didn't know. I just wanted to just keep running and run more and bicycle more and swim more until I could do all three and then do the Ironman. And he's having me do these special exercises for this form or that form or running technique, all those things that the layman doesn't typically know about. He knows all the weak links, and he's been training me on those things. So that was definitely one of the biggest benefits of joining this program is his workout plans and expertise behind them.
Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely something a lot of guys, I don't think, also think about too. And that was one of the things I was thinking. Okay, let's see if this is comes through. Right? Is the difference between just kind of jumping in and just going and exercising, right? So it's like we're just going in, no plans, just like, all right, we're just gonna do this thing and
Yeah,
expect to see results.
even if you pull up and do the Ironman training schedule or one of those, year-long Ironman training schedules that you can bring up, you're not going to get the PT side of things. You're not going to see the ankle strengthening, and you need to make sure your hamstrings are balanced with your front. All those things. So it's definitely been a major benefit, and also forms with compound exercises like squats and deadlifts and so on. Joe has been helping me through those things because deadlifts and squats terrified me, frankly, before, because I like my back,
Yeah,
frankly. I love my back. I don't want to injure my back. So Joe has helped me get through that and do squats and deadlifts, which are one of the best exercises out there, especially as a testosterone booster. It's one of the best exercises for you, and he's helped me get into those.
yeah. Squats and deadlifts, huge. Compound exercises are one of the best things, and also for guys who are looking to like lose weight or just build overall strength. You're
Yeah,
like, do I need to spend hours in the gym? Do I have you spending hours in the gym?
I'd say about an hour and a half from
Yeah.
beginning to end.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're doing the compound training. So like for you, for example, we didn't start you with that amount of time in the gym. It was more just like it was like about 45 minutes to an hour, right? Including your warm up and your exercise and your cool down, and then separating stuff. And then as we started to incorporate your endurance running and stuff while we were also training, because we just kind of had that little bit of a hybrid type thing going on where we were working on some
Yeah.
injuries and things. And so it's like, okay, well, we were required to spend a little bit more time just to kind of make sure that we get that
Yeah.
passed, you know.
No kidding.
That would increase the time. So, some people they really don't need to spend very much time in the gym, but it is very specific, right? It's very unique to the person. So like, if you were to go off of one of the regular online programs,
Yeah,
those,
yeah. This is what you do every day. Today, swim for an hour, run for an hour. It's like,
yeah,
okay. Well, what about my technique? My technique may be terrible. Like the first time I ran the 12 miles, shoot, the first time I ran 2 miles, I had runner's knee for 6 months. So,
man,
yeah, it was pretty bad, Joe. It was pretty bad.
yeah,
And then 12 miles, woo, that hurt by the end of it. I also made the stupid mistake of putting on new shoes before that, but that's, yeah. Yeah, the double whammy there. New longest run on new shoes. Not a good idea. Don't recommend it. But
you're going
Joe
for a
Joe
Guinness
will tell you that
World
too.
Record. Longest run on new shoes, Guinness World Record. Yeah, that's a lot of those things. Like and that's kind of that all for nothing or all or nothing mindset a little bit
Yeah.
too, just in practice. Or it's like, oh, I'm gonna go all out. Do I need to break in any of these new shoes? And it just doesn't even think about it. It's just like, oh, shoes, run, do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's that. And definitely. And on the all or nothing mentality, when I went on that 12-mile run, like that was already pre-scheduled and the shoes, they were coincidence. But I should have stopped. I should have stopped when I noticed my knees weren't happy campers and gone, maybe I should turn around. Instead, I'm like, 12 miles, get it. And
Right.
well, my knees hurt.
Yeah.
Thankfully, not for 6 months, but they hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I think a lot of people jump into either programs that they just find online.
Yeah.
And, I've done so many of those myself too. I mean, I know that you've done some of those too when it comes to just like find something and do it. When it's like, these aren't really, they're not specific for you, and every body is different, right? Just like everybody's mind is different. Everybody's mind, everybody's effect, everybody's emotional reaction to different things.
Yeah.
Everybody's physical body is unique. And so there are a lot of things that we can do that are, standard progression, kind of like what you had mentioned, going from like, building that good foundation of exercise to building your strength, and then going from strength to endurance, and then endurance to power, and then power to power endurance. There's that progression that is pretty common amongst most guys, most people, but how we approach that and how we get there and what areas you need specifically could differ greatly from somebody else.
Absolutely. Just like in running techniques, you have flat feet versus arched feet versus other issues. My issue is that I have flat feet, and that causes a host of problems. And some people just have arched feet and weak glutes and have runner's knee from that. So on. So, those online programs do not take those into account. They are taking into account a perfect running technique. Somebody used to be in cross country, I almost feel like, and then they can just go and do that. That's not most people.
Yeah, it's kind of taking it from like, am I an expert in my lifting and in my running technique and in my psych? Am I perfect in how I'm doing all this? Like, it's just assuming you know everything already and that you're good and you're perfect with it. And then it's just about progressing at that point, which is cool that you can just go from, you can just start progressing, but you can also progress while learning. In fact, you can probably progress more while learning a better technique than you would by just taking your regular and just going, because at some point you hit that block like you've hit before, or you start to injure yourself, or it throws you back.
One of the biggest ones is obviously deadlifts and whatever. I never got injured while doing dead. Actually, I did have that one time that my back was a little sore because I progressed a little too fast. That did happen, but I was able to hit that weight like 2 weeks later without an issue.
Yeah.
But bench press, I was definitely having an issue with a clicking in my shoulders, and it turned out I had my elbows too far out. And Joe watched the video, and he's like, "Oh, get it down and make it more like that." And I did that, I started no longer having issues, and I was able to start progressing on my bench press.
Yeah. Yeah. So form is super important to avoid injury.
Yes,
It's like we
definitely.
it's funny. I saw a post just recently. They're like, if you don't ego lift, you're not going to make any progress.
Are you kidding me?
And it's like, okay, well, I think there's a mindset disparity going on here. Something's not clicking because
Well, your numbers may be going up. I don't know about elsewhere, but your numbers will be pretty with ego
right,
lifting.
yeah, pretty numbers and potentially though only until you injure yourself. It kind of depends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we try to do is to keep you from injury. Right, it's one of the aspects of making sure that you're functional in all of areas of your life is that injury portion because like getting injury can cause effects on the rest of you, right? So like you've got your body and then your body gets injured or something happens with it, sickness even, right? And then how that affects your mindset and how that mindset then affects like your emotions and then how your emotions end up resulting in you coming across and showing up in your relationships and with other people in a way that's maybe not the most encouraging, not the most like positive or something that somebody would want to be around. Did you notice in like your past injuries and then more recent injuries any difference in the way that that injury affected you and how you feel about both yourself, situations, goals? Because we mentioned this a little bit already about how that, how it's a little bit different. But then also the way that you show up in your life between like previous injuries and injuries now.
Honestly, I don't have all that much of a comparison because I really haven't had too many injuries ever that actually prevented me from being functional outside of doing the exercise. So, but yeah, I actually don't have much to talk about on that one, Joe.
No, you're good. You're good. I
Yeah,
just thought I'd check.
I imagine you're just gonna cut this out.
We'll see. We'll see. I might throw it in there. We like to be clearing. I mean, it's awesome that you don't really have any previous major injuries that you've had to deal with.
It really is. I mean, I did break my leg when I was in middle school, but I
As
was a
long
broken. I
yeah.
was in middle school. Other than that, I had the runner's knee and a couple nagging injuries. I mean, this is probably my most serious injury as an adult. I mean, I tore two ligaments and stretched one, but shockingly, it hasn't affected too much. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super glad that we're able to kind
yeah,
of start
until
jumping.
I did that pull up, don't recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
Yeah, I
don't
was
do pull
hanging.
ups.
I was like, oh, yeah, I think I'm okay here. I was a Joe never prescribed me to do this. I was going rogue, and I should not have gone rogue. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna try a pull up. Oh no, no, no! Did I just re-injure? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Jumping the gun a little bit.
yeah, that wasn't my brightest moment.
It's no problem. Yeah. We've definitely gotten past it. And it didn't cause any lasting injuries, which is great.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So, we've gotten through a lot of amazing stuff so far. And I mean, just seeing your journey so far, like, do you feel like your confidence has changed since beforehand?
I would say it has. It's nice knowing I can actually do some lifts in the gym at a respectable level. And that was definitely an inconfidence I had before. Before I could only do like, because I wasn't used to, and then obviously I had been not working out bench press since high school. I could only do like 100 and something pounds. It was kind of embarrassing. And then I was able to do more. Same with deadlifts and squats. I started being able to do them at a respectable, normal level. And obviously, when I get back into it after my shoulder injury, I'll be able to push those into good numbers, hopefully.
Yeah,
But it's been nice feeling like I'm not below average in strength. I feel like I'm up there and respectable, and that's been a huge confidence booster for me.
that's so awesome. Yeah. You feel like the work that you've done in the gym and the consistency that you've found since we've been doing that has affected your life outside the gym?
Yeah, it's given me some structure. I feel like I'm doing something and not being lazy, and that has felt good. It has. Um, I enjoy going to the gym, and I always feel good afterwards, and that does my energy has gone up a little bit since going to the gym, and just an overall confidence booster.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is super important because confidence, like just confidence in going to the gym, that will bleed over to everything else. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like anything in life that that we do. It's never done in isolation. Like, oh, I'm feeling insecure, or oh, I'm not, consistent with my gym exercise, and so then that ends up. It's not just in the gym, and it's not just related to that. It reaches its roots into everything else, and so you recognizing like, oh well, if I'm not consistent going to the gym, I haven't been consistent getting up on time in the morning, or going to bed on time
Yeah.
at night, or drinking enough water, or
Well,
eating
it's
the
just
right.
about having control in your life. If you're
Yeah,
not doing those things, you're not in control of your life. And when you're not in control of your life, you tend to notice it, even if it's subconsciously. You notice it. You're just not in control, and that can affect you. And I know it did me with
yeah,
my procrastination and excuses and inconsistency. I did have some confidence issues from that. Like I didn't feel like I was doing as good as I should have been.
yeah, yeah. But now we've got it to where we're feeling that confidence. We're feeling the ability to get back, even though we have injuries and things that have come up, which are
Huge.
greater than the challenges that you faced previously
Yeah.
prior to that, which is just evidence of growth that, for you, like in you, growth in you as a person, in a man, as a leader, as a, a confident doer, where you're like, hey, previously I would not have confidence. I'd be procrastinating and it'd just like continue to go, and it'd be small excuses to keep me from doing it.
Yep.
But now it's like, hey, I've got, if anything, I have a huge excuse, but I don't want that. Like I'm choosing, I don't want that excuse. I want to get past that. I want to continue to grow, continue to change, continue to develop, and have more of that control and that leadership in what I want to do, as opposed to letting my situations and my emotions rule me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just having yourself be a little bit more resistant to the storm around you and being able to actually still go do this or that you want to or need to do. It it really does make you feel better than being able to be pushed around by life in general. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, you've been an amazing person to work with. You've been an amazing friend, and I really do appreciate you jumping on this podcast with me. It's been awesome. Some shared amazing things that I know that a lot of people would find valuable. So thank you again for jumping on here and spending this time with me this morning.
of course, Joe. Thank you. It was good to talk to you on this podcast.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Feel free to join us for the next podcast. I'm not having a consistent schedule at the moment, but it will be coming out for sure. And if you like this, feel free to share it, comment it, like it, follow. I'll also be putting this on our social media as well. So it's going to be on different things, TikTok, Coach Joe, and then Instagram, jsteven406 with a PH. You can also find me on Facebook, Joseph Carlson, Functional for Life. Hope you have a fantastic day. Take control of your life. You got this. Be a leader in your life.